Right.
All right. I didn't think of a good intro, so we're just gonna start talking. I've been wanting to.
Let's do it.
There was like so much drama coming out
Cheers.
of the Olympia and wanted to get together and just talk about because I know you two have been very active when it was all happening. And myself, when I'm usually like laid back or quiet about it, I was like, I can't stand for this anymore.
Me and Andrea are like, we're like this. Like we
Yeah,
got this, let's do it.
yeah.
I will
So
fight anybody on the internet.
right.
Yes, I will.
So let's
Uh,
kind of like go into it and like help me fill in the holes to make sure I followed everything correctly. So Taylor Learmont, who for some people seemed like she came out of nowhere, got
mhm,
second place at the Olympia, which is a huge deal because only her second pro show ever.
mhm,
Um, got first place like deservedly got first for the routine round,
mhm.
placed in the like the lower half, I think, for the physique round, and everyone's like shitting on her pretty much, and the division itself for
Yeah.
her getting so close to first. What are your thoughts?
So I'm just gonna start out by saying this. Had Missy not gotten hurt and she would have got fourth or fifth, I don't think it would be as big of a deal. But because Whitney ended up getting hurt, not being able to really finish her routine fully, but she was got most of it done. Missy couldn't do her routine at all. It just kind of like that's how the numbers played out.
Right.
Um, my personal opinion is that like she's a phenomenal competitor, phenomenal fitness competitor. And like I understand what people are saying, but they truly have no idea like what it takes to be a fitness competitor. So like if you ask any open bodybuilder, hey, what's the hardest division? 90% of them is going to say fitness. That's just hands down across the board. Like not only do you have to be peeled and you're depleted and you're shredded, but you have to perform at maximum capacity and be entertaining and look like you're not hurting. And like and do it for 2 solid minutes. Like it's an all-out hit routine for 2 minutes that you have to perfect just in order to do decent in your placing.
Right.
Yep.
And for people who
Yeah.
don't know, like the physique round is 1/3 of your score, and the two highest and two lowest are dropped, or depending on how many judges, one high and one low. And then your routine round is 2/3. Same thing, two highest, two lowest, or one and one dropped. Most of the people that have been winning and doing shows have been bringing both packages. This is one of those times when someone who didn't quite have the developed physique or the conditioning showed up with just a phenomenal routine. But that's not to say that like Jody, boom, who is a phenomenal fitness athlete who gets inside out lean, had she to kept maybe a little bit of body fat on her, couldn't have performed better on stage. So I think there's a whole lot that's kind of going into it, but that's just like what is known outwardly right now.
Mhm.
Andrea?
Yeah, like, so, okay, I want to touch on the Jody thing for a second, only because that's a very specific example. Jody, so after Van, Jody got what, second?
Yeah.
And specifically coming into Chicago, she even put it on like on Instagram. She said, we needed to prioritize my routine. So we pushed my calories, sacrificed my physique a little bit so that I could do better in routine. And guess what? She won. She did better. She won that show. And so I think one thing that people miss, and this is like how I've just started thinking about this now, is like we all know that routine is 2/3. Like we all know that routine is more like more valuable. But I think what happens is like what I saw in the comments on all this stuff is they're like, how can someone with such a low physique do so well? And I'm like, we got to stop thinking of, even though the routine round is second, we got to stop thinking of, oh, someone's trying to catch up in the routine round. What we really need to think, what we really should be asking, and not that this was the case at the Olympia, everybody at the Olympia, pretty much had like amazing physiques. But what we really should be looking at when we're looking at these top fives is, how can someone with such a low ranking routine be in the top 5? Like, we need to be looking at the routine rankings as the starting point, as the baseline of the rankings, and then physique makes the adjustments, right? Like, I think if we all would have just said, rank the routines, whatever the routine rankings are is going to be the rankings. I think 99% of people would have said, okay, well, Taylor's going to win. Probably, you know, the rest of the top 5, they're going to be somewhere in that top 5. But I, in my opinion, don't think that there was a question about Taylor being the winning routine out of the people that finished routines. I mean, we don't know what Missy was going to do. But then, okay, well, she started in first, but she had a lower ranking physique, so that's going to pull her down a little.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Versus people thinking, oh my gosh, she's so low in the physique. How on earth can she get ranked so high? It's like, no, she was first in the routine. Let's start there. She started at first.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think if we start thinking of the routine as the starting point, it would make a lot more sense for a lot of people just in general, because Jacqueline Baker got 4th when she got second to last in physique in 2019. Same with Tiffany Chandler that year. Like, they both were literally the bottom 2 in physique, and they both got in the top 5 because they were, Reagan's awake, because they were super high. So anyway, I just think there was a lot of confusion just because we all know how fitness is judged. But when you just have random bodybuilding fans looking at it, they're like, how on earth did this happen? So like, you guys just don't understand. And they're like, this
Well,
is
it's just the ignorance of it too. Like, trash it. Like, trash, get
Right,
rid. I'm like,
right.
what?
Right.
Yeah.
And we're like, we know what it is when we come into the division. Like, I know that routine is 2/3. That's how I turned pro. Actually, I didn't have to do physique, but you know, like, we know that it's 2/3. Like, maybe the exact rankings were a surprise, right? But I mean, at least when I did my predictions, I knew the top 5 was going to be the top 5 in no particular order.
Yeah.
Right. And these
Yeah.
people who don't know anything about fitness are like, oh, this is stupid. Like, okay, so don't. You just don't even know what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
I had to correct so many people who were just straight up saying wrong things. I'm
Yep.
like, no, you're done.
Yeah.
Hi, big girl.
Well, the funniest thing is it's like there are people who suddenly cared. I'm like,
Yes,
what? You
this
never,
is their
you
most
didn't even
passionate.
know about this division. All of a sudden, you come out judging it.
They
Like,
were
what the
so
heck? Who are you?
insulted with the
They-
bodybuilding community.
They were so passionate about this. And I'm like, have you ever watched this division? Why is this taking up so much of your time and energy on the internet? Like, move on. If you're bothered by this, Reagan's bitter that she's blurry. If you're bothered by this, move on. Like, why do you have to spend so much time shitting on a division that a lot of us really love? And especially when you don't understand it. Hey, your food's on the table,
Right.
or you want to sit there with me? You want to sit? Okay.
Hi, Reagan.
I naked child, so my life.
But yeah, no, I'm right there with you, because some of the just pure ignorance being poured all over social media,
Yeah.
like, and thankfully, I mean, I can always count on Andrea to have my back, because I was going back and forth, and I was like, Andrea, you want this one or not?
Yeah.
I saw one of those. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, yes.
And she was like, nah, you take it. I'm like, all right.
And then I had no patience, and I was like,
These keyboard warriors. I'm like,
yeah.
dude, you look like you've never lifted a weight in your life.
know.
Like,
And they're like, it's like this for so many of the divisions. Like, obviously, I'm super passionate about men's physique as well, like, because my husband's a men's physique competitor. And people are like, oh, these guys don't even train legs. And I'm like, are you serious? My husband can probably squat twice as much as you. Like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh my gosh, this is, and I'm like, this is the division that they train for. There is a specific criteria that they are training for. I don't understand why you guys don't understand that. Like, there's a criteria. It's not like they're just like, oh, I hate legs. Maybe there are some people who hate training legs. I could never do wellness because I hate training legs. I despise training legs. But if the criteria is a criteria, like, it is what it is. It's like, nobody looks at bikini and they're like, oh, you just don't want to train hard. No, maybe they just don't want to look like a women's physique competitor. Like,
Yeah.
that's, I'm like, you guys, I don't understand why you feel like you have to have so many opinions about other divisions that you don't understand, or maybe you just don't like, you don't have to love every single division in bodybuilding, but that doesn't mean you have to like shit on all the athletes in that division, because as we all know, we all work like super hard. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just like a classic physique competitor doesn't always train necessarily just like an open bodybuilder, because there are certain aspects that they have to keep in check. They have to keep their waistline down. They have to keep their weight capped. Like they have limits. If you want to be an open bodybuilder where there are no limits and you just keep everything symmetrical, shape, left to right, up to down, whatever. Like if that's what you want to be, a mass monster, you go right ahead. Not everybody has the genetics for it.
Right.
And some of us train because like, could I do the figure division? Probably not, because I find it very just meh. Could I do the wellness division? Yes, because I love training legs. I have the genetics for it. Like my workout routine during prep is 1 day of legs, 2 days of hamstrings and glutes, but like 1 day of quads. And I have two quad exercises, but that's my genetics. And that's not what I want to do. I love the fitness aspect of it. So like I work on my physique, but I try my hardest to focus on my routine. Now I understand some people are saying like, oh, well, this isn't bodybuilding. This isn't bodybuilding. You have a one catch-all that this has happened. Okay. It's not always going to be like that, because there are always going to be those girls that nail the physique and that are going to nail the routine.
Look, routine, right. Yeah. And it just takes time. Like going back to Jacqueline and Tiffany, like Jacqueline specifically, because she's so ranked so high in the world. Jacqueline was a bottom tier physique that year, but it's been 5 years now almost. And look at her now. She won the physique round at the Arnold this year. Like she came out blazing in routine and then just built her physique over time. I'm like, y'all, like it's that's how it is. We all know that bodybuilding takes time. Like she's going to come in with a better physique. And like you said, most of the time, people are more balanced in, you know, obviously I feel like most people have, you know, they do have a clear strength, but like most of the time, most people are pretty balanced. So that's like a random example. You know what I mean? Like, because there's also some examples of people who just have like crazy fire physiques, but they've like never done fitness and their routine is garbage, right? And then people are like, oh my gosh, you looked amazing. How did you not place? Like, oh, because there were people who were more balanced that were a little bit better, you know, like, so it's like, this doesn't happen all the time, but it is the way the score sheet works. So it's nothing weird happened other than this was like an abnormally high ranking routine.
Yeah.
For how low the physique was.
Yeah. Her physique wasn't even that low, right? It wasn't the lowest. I think it was like
it wasn't the lowest.
Third or fourth lowest, I think, out of the 14.
So Mina and Tiffany were at the two bottom. Mina was last, Tiffany was second to last,
and then Taylor, she tied.
Taylor. Yeah. Now and Taylor, and if I'm not mistaken, Taylor and Amber tied.
Yep.
For third bottom, or fourth bottom, however you want to call it. But I will say this, because of which we could clearly see, they made it a very clear statement this year of what they are looking for in all categories. Like wellness, clearly, you know who the winner is. But when it hey, chill out. But when it comes to like 212, like Sean Clarita is a freak, like a freak of nature. But then you have somebody like Keon who comes in and he is genetically just beautiful, round, tiny waistline, but his streamline, his dimensions, everything is beautifully balanced. And I realized this year that they were going more with shape than they were freakiness.
Yep. That's exactly what, you know, because someone had mentioned that tie, and I was like, have you seen Taylor's shape though? Like, I was like, she wasn't peeled, but her shape, like I could see, you know, some judges were like, oh, I like the shape better. And some judges, you know, Amber is an example of someone who just gets like stupid peeled.
Yeah.
Like I could see if the judges were split, like some of them were like, no, look at this conditioning though. How can we not reward that? And then other judges are like, but look at the shape though. Like, so I could see that tie happening easily. You know what I mean?
So I bring that part up because like some of the girls who don't always have the greatest shape, but do get conditioned. Like, and I'm not going to name anyone in particularly, but there are some girls who come in conditioned or as conditioned as they can, but that just don't have like oh God, Allison. Allison's shape is freaking gorgeous. Allison Kramer's shape is absolutely just mind blowing to me. She has this
What
big,
my dreams are made of. Oh gosh.
so much. And so like something like that, and like what she was told in her last show was don't come in any like harder. So she actually was a little bit softer than she was when she won her show. But it's like, that's where I think the imbalance is among judges.
Oh,
We,
yes, for sure.
I'll be the one to say it. I don't care. I'll be the asshole. We have a serious problem in our division with there being inconsistency with what judges are looking for as a fitness competitor. We should be in agreement that we are judged like a figure competitor.
Yes.
That's hands down. That's how it is. As the routine goes there, we have mandatories. Great. You should be docked if you don't hit all your mandatories in a routine.
Yes.
Period. If you don't have, that's not what you want, then get rid of the mandatories or add more mandatories.
Yeah, I agree.
Instead of 4 moves, add 8. If, you know, not everybody like myself, I don't have a tumbling background. My tumbling is not pretty. I put tumble run in the Olympia in 2022 and it was like proud as can be, but I don't have a gymnastics background. I played volleyball for 15 years.
I'm still amazed that you learned how to flip past the age of 16. There were no new developing skills for me once I got like, no. But shout out to you and all the other fitness competitors. Sorry, that's a sidebar.
But like I took gymnastics starting at 33 years old. I'm 36 now. Yeah, 33, started taking gymnastics lessons, learned how to back handspring, and then learned how to do it like a tumble run appropriately without freaking yourself out. And doing that as an adult, as instead of as a fearless 7-year-old, that's different.
Oh, yeah, especially with your height. I can relate to that. I'm like, I'm too tall. I'm gonna break myself.
On stage, me and Alex Smalls are the two tall. Alex is 5'10", I am 5'9".
Oh, I didn't realize that tall.
Everyone on that stage all the time. Like on my picture, I'm like, oh, you look so pretty. And then you put up the lineup and it's like, everybody, Anna, everybody. So
oh my gosh, I want to see you next to Ellie Ams, Missy's little itty bitty. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
she's so tiny. I was like,
all the pictures with Sarah Kovac. Sarah's like, I love Sarah to death. All the pictures I take with Sarah Kovac, I pick her up.
Oh my gosh.
Because if I stand next to her, she's literally to my hip. Like she's 4'11", I think.
Oh, really? Oh my God. I thought she was at least 5, but wow. She carries herself in a way that makes her look taller though.
She's awesome. But it's such a funny. So like you have to play to your strength. So like if you're gonna make like a mandatory, then make it to where like you do a handstand, you have to hold some sort of handstand for 3 seconds. Like that way you're showing your strength. But so like they're looking for strength, cardiovascular endurance, like explosion. They want energy. Okay, then what categorizes is that?
Right. What are the specific things?
Is not what everybody is. I don't have a tumbling background. So to me, a handstand's freaking hard. Doing a tumble run is hard. So I played volleyball for 15 years. So I learned how to do things that benefit me. I can jump really high. Like I use my height. So, and it looks like an explosive. So they said, we need more energy. So like I develop a freaking 360 Superman in the air. That crap was
so cool.
Yeah. I love that move.
Love that.
I remember when I first posted it, Andrea, you were like, if you don't do this in a routine, I'm stealing it.
Well, here's the reality of the situation. I don't have the capacity to steal that. Like that's something like in your mind you're going to steal, but you physically can't do it. So like I was never going to steal it because I tried it and I was like, yikes. This won't be going in my routine.
Have either ever gotten feedback where you're like, I'm sorry, you told me to do more what? That is all I did. Like I've been given feedback multiple times to increase my strength or improve my strength skills. I'm like, did you not see, like, that is all I do. I do a ton of handstands, hand balancing, lots of push-ups, everything else. Like, I'm surprised you didn't tell me to jump more or like be more like, do people
Right.
ever, have you gotten that weird feedback? You're like, what do you do with this?
Yeah, several times.
I don't compete that much, so no. I also only just started getting my feedback. I'm going to be completely honest. I got my feedback at the Olympia and I got my feedback at my shows this year. And that's pretty much the only time I've ever gotten feedback. I will say, like, at Legion, like, Tarek was like, he said, like, your energy was dying. And I remember thinking, like, was it, Tarek? But then I watched the video and I was like, oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Like, because I was like, choreography wise, I didn't feel like it slowed down. But then, like, I was like, oh yeah, we're like at a mile high in my conditioning. Like, I could not catch my breath. So when I watched the video, I was like, oh, you didn't mean like the choreography. You meant like my physical energy slowed down. Yeah.
Girl, don't feel bad. Last year after Legion in 22, when I did it, I got off stage. I'm like, hi guys, how's it going? Went over to the EMTs, got a breathing treatment.
I couldn't breathe.
Gone like that.
I could not breathe. I was like, I'm gonna go into cardiac arrest right now. Like,
Oh man.
it was a cool show, but I can't do that elevation. Like, it's not gonna happen for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lee.
It's a pretty big deal. When I lived in Colorado, I mean, I had the reverse where I would like do a show at a sea level and I'm like, I could do this 3 more times. This is great. And then but then there was one show that I did that was like moved to Tennessee, did a show that was like higher elevation, and I was like gasping for breath. I was like, this isn't right. What's going on? I still have the best like cardio.
Yeah, like after Legion, I remember posting my Instagram story. I said, this was my feedback. And I was like, but how do I practice that? And I was like, because I'm not tired when I practice it. I was like, that was specific to show day. Like, I don't know how to replicate those conditions. And then that's when I was like, oh, it was the elevation. Like, that's why I'm not as tired during practice as I was on show day. Oh, she wants to get in my belly. This is our new game right now.
So that's why I love Renee, because Renee's in Colorado and Renee gets off stage and she's like,
That's nice.
not panting, going like that. And I'm like dying, laying on the floor, gasping for air. I'm like, I hate you so much.
That's so funny. She's like, that was cute. I'm like, okay.
Cute.
That's funny. She has to be on camera. But okay, so I do want to touch on, so the scoring, that was something, that was a big conversation, right? Because I think after the Olympia, a lot of people, first off, the people outside of the division, we've already discussed, like, they just don't know what the expectation is. But I do feel like a lot of people in the division, not specifically related to like Taylor, right? But just relating to other rankings, like you said, I feel like a lot of people were like, so what are the things? And I feel like that's something, like, I don't know, if we can rally together, we need to petition to, like, okay, we need like specific, like, what is
Guidelines.
what do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? And even, like, not to make it too much, because I understand, like, they need the simplicity of how to judge, but like, I also came from cheerleading, judging, that's very specific. Like, when you are judging a cheer, and I'm not gonna like go super down that road, but like, when you're judging a cheer, it's not just how good was that cheer. It's how loud were your voices? How, I'm trying to put this in layman's terms, like, did your props make sense? Did your signs make sense? How was your spacing on the floor? Like, so it's not just, was that a good cheer? It's like all of these specific components, so you know how to get a good score on the cheer. I can watch a cheer and say, you need to be louder. You need to spread out. You need to fix the timing so that these two things go up at the same time. That is how we improve your cheer score. It's not just like, how do I make my routine better? Because I feel like a lot of us do that, where we get a little bit of feedback, but then we just try to make our routine better without really actually knowing, will this net higher results? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
definitely a bit of a guessing game. Like they said, like
I
do this thing,
feel
and then you gotta interpret what it actually means.
right. It's like, will this make my routine score better? Like, if I add this because I think that's what I need to do better, is that what my routine needed? When you say when you say strength, improve your strength, does that mean add another strength skill? Or does that mean, like you said, Anna, hold my strength skills for longer? Like what? And I just feel like that's something we need to, like, probably as a division, be like, listen, we got to get that, like, we want to tighten this up a little bit because there's people floating in and out of the division because they feel like there's not clarity here. Like, there is criteria, but there's like also kind of not at the same time. Like, and like you said, I don't know if you saw in the Facebook group, I had put like, what constitutes a kick? And I was like, I saw some winners this year that didn't do no kicks in their routine.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are you going to let someone win who doesn't do all four?
Yeah.
Like, if it's a mandatory, it needs to be a mandatory, and there needs to be someone watching specifically just to make sure those things, or there needs to be a checkbox on the scorecard so they know, like, oh, did I just miss it? Or like, no, I can see right here, none of us checked off kick. Like, be one thing if I just think I didn't see it, but then every other judge knows they saw it. Okay. But like, there needs to be some sort of like checks and balances of like how we make sure without making all the routines look the same, right? Because you do have to have some stylistic freedom. Like, me and Jacqueline Baker are never going to do the same type of routine,
No.
right?
Mhm.
But we can still adhere to specific guidelines of, like you said, if it says hold a handstand for at least 3 seconds, we can both do that in our own style. If it says, do this, you need to have 2 different types of push-ups, or not just a push-up, you need to have a push-up sequence that constitutes at least 2 push-ups in a row. Like, that's something in cheerleading. They're like, you have to have a jump sequence. It needs to be 3 connected or 2 connected and 1 later on in your routine. It's very specific. Like, you need to have a push-up sequence, which is at least 2 push-ups. You need to have, you know what I mean? Like, I think that would remove a lot of the subjectivity that frustrates people in our division.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Because-
judges need more of an idea of like, what are the mandatories and what is it? How do they want to see it executed?
Right.
Also, right? Because like, if you do a high kick that only goes like halfway,
right.
versus like,
Especially because, let's be honest, none of these judges were past fitness competitors. They don't know. We know better than they do. So it's like, it's really not just for us, it's for them to rank us properly.
And that's why, like, when it comes to getting critiques, I go to either Trey, whose wife was a fitness competitor. I go to Mo, was a fitness competitor, or Sandy. The problem with going to Sandy is so bombarded all the time with so many people.
Yeah.
And you heard, like, right after the show, it's very hard to get a hold of her. Yes, she does answer her emails, but think about how many emails. Like, the past weekend is nationals. Do you have any idea how many emails that woman has? Like, that's nuts.
Yeah.
So, like, but it's like that, or if I'll go to Becca, like somebody
Right.
who
Another one.
will give me true, honest feedback, and who can just say, hey, if you would have done this like a little bit longer, or hey, when you did, so like, great example, like, okay, 3 people in a routine do a round off back handspring back tuck, right? Or back layout. And one person kind of undercuts a little bit and it's not quite as pretty. Okay, does that person get docked for that? Because it wasn't as pretty as the previous ones? Like, what are we talking about here? Because I'm not
right.
gonna
Yeah.
handspring. I can nail a back handspring and my rebound's going to be high. Or like a push-up sequence, like doing a push-up sequence where it looks like your hands get 3 inches off the floor, or someone like me and Tiffany where we get 4 feet off the floor.
Oh, holy. Michelle gets some height too. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, damn, I got to go after this chick. I'm going to look like I'm stuck on the floor. But yes, I agree. I think there just needs to be a little bit more specifics so that, again, so that there's less frustration on our part, but then there's also like more consistency on the judges' part, because obviously there is subjectivity. But I just think of like my own personal season this year, like Legion, I got 4th, and I got third in the routine. So Kristen Pope beat me in the routine at Legion. And then in Chattanooga, Kristen Pope and Stephanie Jones both got like way lower in the routine. And like all three of us did the same routines. Well, like me and Kristen made like small upgrades, but like we all did the same routines. It was just in front of different judges. Those judges, like the judges in Legion, really liked Kristen over me. The judges in Chattanooga really liked me over Kristen. And then in Van Weeder, I had previously just beat Michelle, and Michelle beat me. Although actually I think I beat her in the routine, but like it's just like we're all doing the same routines every single time. And of course there's like small upgrades or small differences in execution, but I think like I don't think you should be able to go from like first in routine at one show to seventh in routine at the next show against all the same people.
I completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless there was just something majorly different about how you executed your routine.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the thing is, like, so I've heard this too, and as far as like consistency amongst like the judging, like I don't know if any of you guys had ever met or been around Rael Graber, but like when she would mentor people about fitness, she would
Mhm.
for it. And if you watch her routines, they were like strategic to the point. They were never sloppy, but every move transition. And that was her big thing, was that she coached us on transitioning. So like
Mhm.
next move, don't like get up and go into the next move. It's like make the transition smooth. Just like what they didn't want to see is they tell us all the time, this is in a gymnastics competition. So you can tumble all you want. You don't come out of a tumble and then like set.
Salute.
You just don't do that.
Yeah.
Like you tumble and then you hit your jump switch split and land in a split and then keep going into something else. Like you don't ever stop. And if you do, you make it deliberate and make it a strength move, but everything must be fluid. And I think that issues at Olympia, because one of the things that some of the girls that were placing higher were doing was like setting up before and after runs. And the whole time, all of the more veteran people have been told constantly, you don't do this.
Right.
Like, so do we do it? Do we not do it? Like, because you told me gymnastics competition, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to set up. Like, where is, like, what is the criteria? Like, what exactly? Because here's the thing,
Right.
Girls, we can adapt super fast. If you look at us and we're like, hey, I know we could be backstage. Hey guys, I know you guys have practiced because we told you all it was like a 70-foot stage. Something happened and it's a 40-foot stage. We will adapt.
Right.
We have to. We'll come up with something. We will improv. I can't tell you how many times I have forgotten a move on stage and I just improv'd it immediately. Like
This was the first season that didn't happen to me.
it happens. Like, or the first person goes on stage and they're like, y'all, there is a huge hole on this right side of the stage. Like you can do your routine, you look and spot the floor and you will change your direction so quick.
Yeah.
So like we adapt really well. So if you just tell us what it is that you want, we can. It's not like, well, that's not just how I do things. No, it's just, we don't know what you want us to do.
Right. Yeah. And that goes back to like this specifying like what constitutes some of those things, right? Like what is, when you say, like when I say you, I mean like the judges, the criteria, whatever. Like when you say, don't do this, we don't want to see you stopping, for instance, before you're tumbling past, since that's what we're talking about. What do you mean by that? Because anybody who knows anything about tumbling, you have to set your feet for a hot second before you just start going, right? So is it, I don't want to see you freeze for more than a second? Like what is the criteria for what you mean by that? And I think if they clarified that, yes, for you. They clarified that, again, that would make it a lot easier, one, for judging, but two, for adherence for us. Because some of us are just going to know, like, depending on what it is, you know what, this is just how I have to do it because of whatever. this is the only way that I know how to do it, or this, you know, whatever it is. And so I'm just willing to take the points off or whatever. Or like you said, most of us will adapt and just say, okay, so this is how I do this now. Right? Like Jacqueline Baker helped me with my routine last year. And that was the first thing she said to me. She's like, I can't know when you're about to tumble. Right now, every single time you're about to tumble, I know it's about to happen because you stop, you do this. Yes, it's a cheerleading thing. Like I'm like, she's like, we gotta lose that. Like it was the first thing she said, right? So, but it's still something I struggle with. That's why I had to start my routine with the tumbling pass this year, because I was like, listen, I'm gonna be frozen in time before this tumbling pass. But like, yeah, I think if there was just more clarity, but also at the same time, like I said, for the ease and like efficiency of judging, because I know how judging cheerleading is. If you have too many variables that you're trying to like check off, then they can't just run competitors back to back. Like it's like, okay, you have to go, okay, we need 2 minutes so that we can look at this and we can make sure that like it kind of turns it into this big long thing. So I don't really know what the solution is. Maybe check boxes. Like maybe that's as simple as it is. Okay, this was a check minus, a check, or a check plus. Because that's easy. Like, okay, I saw her kick. I think it was a good kick, check plus. This girl didn't kick, she doesn't get it. You know what I mean? Like, just something to give us more clarity on what's expected. And then also give them, because even if you look at, and this is like the last person I'll specify, but like Jody's routine. Jody said, like, I think she posted like on her story, like, you know, a lot of people really like my, or like she posted her routine. She said a lot of people really liked it. A lot of people didn't. And she DM'd me after the Olympia. She's like, okay, I want your honest opinion because I know you're going to give it to me straight. Like, I was really surprised that I ranked that low. And I was like, Jody, I'm not surprised you ranked that low. You got the rank that I thought you were going to get. And I was like, because for me personally, compared to someone like Sarah, I was like, if you watch these routines back to back, I was like, there were times in your routine that I could see, like, I had time to ask myself, what is her next skill? Where I was like, when I watched Sarah's routine, before I could think what's next, she was doing the next thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
But
it's like some people, because stylistically, I love Jody's routine. Like, so some people, for them, that was enough to be like, no, this routine should have ranked higher because yes. Okay, go Putty. I liked her costume. I liked her theme. It was unique. She did these crazy strength skills. Like, but it's like, there are no guidelines to say, like, I think you should be able to clearly explain, like the way that Tyler does these breakdowns for all these other divisions. I think you should be able to clearly say, this is why, without people saying like, well, I just don't think so. Like, I don't think so. It's not a good answer from a judge. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. It's tricky. And that's also why I passed off my choreography to Whitney, because I'm like, I don't have time to be thinking about all this stuff. Like, this is confusing. Like, I don't know. I think this is kind of unrelated. I think a lot of people what do y'all think about, was fitness ever 50-50?
it was for a short period of time, but there used to be 4 rounds of fitness.
Oh, the one piece and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's gone through a lot of iterations for
Back
sure.
in the olden days.
Mhm.
When was that?
Talk to Stephanie. Stephanie competed back then. Trying to get her pro card in fitness.
Yeah, she's doing wellness this year.
So is she really?
Yeah, she just posted on the gram. Like
Oh,
literally this morning. You probably haven't seen it yet,
okay.
obviously.
Wow. I mean, I know
Like-
earlier this year, she was debating.
Yeah, she said she has like too many injuries.
I get it.
Yeah.
And that stinks because, like, personally, and this is just my personal opinion, them telling people, you know, if the physique's not that important and you want to work on the routine, But then telling the people and then rewarding leaner and leaner and leaner and leaner and leaner and more shredded and more shredded and more shredded. What
in the
happened?
ground. It's
You
very hard. It's
getting
very challenging because
literally
was-
get on stage because
so
you asked for and they did it, and this is what happens. So like
that was my thought.
if you want that, then I personally think you should make it 50-50.
Switched one.
Fine.
Switched from my iPad. My iPad was
I was
No,
thinking it would be nice if they did. I'd be okay. I'm okay with the 1/3, 2/3. But if there's like a tie, I feel like they should award the physique. That I think that would balance it out a little more at the end. Just be like, okay, actually, we
I
still
think
do
for the
care
physique.
about it being a physique thing.
Yeah, I can see that. I just think like I agree with you, Anna. It's really tricky because you said it should be judged like figure. It is figure. Round one is figure. Great, which means they're generally obviously going to reward the harder, leaner physiques. But then routine is more important. And so they say, hey, we want you to have these great routines. So that's going to probably require you to not have the leanest physique you can achieve. And I think the tricky part is that the way that it's judged now, because like you said, they're in the physique round, they are rewarding those super shredded physiques, right? It leaves it up to us, which maybe is a good thing, but I don't think it, I think it's a little confusing. It leaves it up to us to decide where we want to go. Like, because I'm like, okay, you can tell me to, sacrifice my physique a little bit to make sure I have a good routine. But then in the same breath, you tell me I need to come tighter because I just got second call out in the physique round. So do you want me to do, how do I do better? Like, I just have to choose which one I want to be better at. Like, of course, there are lots of people who are really good at both, but it's like, I feel like the scoring
At what risk though?
should flow together. The scoring should flow together. Like, yes, they are two separate rounds, but I just feel like you should be able to do well in both.
Yep.
With the same body.
Yeah.
That's why I have the idea that I really do think it should be 50-50, because if it's just as important, and that's what the conflicting information that you're being told all the time, hey, you need to be tighter, you need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it's even, then I think there's going to be less discrepancy because it is still bodybuilding. This is still the sport of bodybuilding. And that's why I think, and you push and push and push and push. And there are some girls that will push and continue to work on the routine and get better and better and better. But like, we understand that we take that risks, but we're taking that risk because that's what we're being told is asked of us.
Right. That's what we're getting told is going to be rewarded.
Literally have your two reigning, competing Miss Fitness Olympias dislocate your shoulder and rupture your knee on the same stage in the same night.
Right.
Meanwhile, because you've been asking all of this, you have other girls who you don't see get injured on stage, but who are recovering from a torn Achilles or a broken ankle or a broken fibula. Like,
yeah. I mean, how many people got hurt on stage this year? Like, out of all of our shows? Yes. Amanda got hurt at Chattanooga. 2 people got hurt at, I forget what show, but like
the Body B1 show. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, plus all the injuries, Stephanie Jones listed a laundry list of injuries she had this year, even though she kept competing. Like, yeah, I think the 50-50, I think 50-50 makes the most sense. I'm not going to complain about 2/3 where my physique is. Don't change it to 50-50 till next year. But like, I think that I agree with you. I think that makes the most sense because then there isn't like how did this, like, it's pretty clear, these are both evenly weighted. They are equally as important. And then maybe in that case, it's 50-50, but tie does break to routine now.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That makes sense.
Right. then it's like, okay, yeah, you were even, but because this is the fitness division specifically, but it's like when it's 2/3 and tie breaks to routine, it's like, does physique even matter? Because depending on the lineup, depending on how many people are in a lineup, physique can straight up not matter. Like
Oh,
if the
yeah.
lineup is small enough, and I've done the math on this millions of times, like if the lineup is like 6 or lower, you can literally get dead last in physique and win routine and still beat the person who gets second and second.
Yep.
Like, so you can literally do whatever you want in physique.
Yeah.
Depending, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's even more exaggerated with the amateurs when it's like, at most, I maybe will compete against 3 people ever. And it's like,
Right.
why did
So
you
physique doesn't
try
matter.
for?
Why am I doing physique? Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how it is. We have an amateur girl, and that's the same thing. Like, that's the approach I'm taking with her. Like, yes, we want your physique to come in tight, but I'm like, I'm not worried about it. You just got to beat these people in routine. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
that's really how it is. I'm like, you just have to win the routine round. Like, your physique will come around when it comes around. Like, I still want you to work on it, but I'm not tripping about it. Like, I just need you to get that push-up sequence a little better.
Mhm.
Understood.
Yeah. Did you either of you watch there was like a Olympia recap that was all like that Sandy was on and a few other females they did with Tarek.
The
I know,
Olympia TV. Yep. Oh,
yeah,
I
yeah.
certainly
Did you
did.
notice the part when Sandy was like, um, yeah, this is proof that you don't have to come in super conditioned. I was like, hold on. That's not fair to everyone else who's been pushing this because that's what you've been awarding. Like,
No,
WTF? Why don't you
I
like
will
discount
say,
them for that?
You got to come in tighter. I'm like,
I will say, I have not, and you guys know what I look like on stage. I will say, at the Olympia and none of my shows, at Legion, but at the Olympia, Chattanooga, and even Ben Weeder, which I was like super fluffy because I went rampant during my prep and I was on my period. I never once got conditioning feedback, which I was like, oh, is this what we're doing conditioning wise? Like, I still feel like I can come in tighter. Like, that was my own self feedback, like come in a little tighter because I know what my body looks like and what I consider to be the correct condition. But I'm like, I was really surprised that they didn't tell me get more condition, because I was like, oh, I feel like it was kind of like how you were talking about the Sean, like, that thing. Like, I was like, oh, maybe they are. I mean, and even Michelle, like at Chattanooga, Michelle got third in physique.
mhm.
She beat Stephanie. She beat Pope. Like, she beat people who come in pretty tight
Mhm.
because she's just so freaking muscular and has a good shape. And I'm like, okay, so now they said it on Olympia TV. Okay, you don't have to. But again, in the physique round, most of the time they're still rewarding those looks. So it's like, what do we do?
When you've got Missy Trescott and Jody Boom standing next to each other and they are feathered both everywhere, I don't feel like that's something that you can sit there and say because that's what you're rewarded.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I feel like sometimes the fitness competitors are actually told to be even more conditioned than figure girls because like I don't see that much like feathering or even that leanness on a lot of figure competitors the way that like Jody came in or like Missy
Like
came
like
in.
a high level. Well, and you
Hmm.
know what's really interesting? Like, on that Olympia TV, how Tarek was saying, like, yeah, after Missy got hurt, he's like, we might see her come back, maybe in figure. And he was like, I feel like she maybe could give Sydney a run for her money. Did you notice Sandy was like, yeah, she could give Jessica a run for her money? Like, Sandy was like, full stop, sir. Like, this isn't the figure look, which I just think is interesting. I just think it's interesting. Not that like, I think that just because you're winning the physique round in fitness, you should be winning the figure Olympia. But I also am like, this is also the number one fitness physique in the world.
Hmm.
So for you to make it very clear that this is not comparable to the number one figure look, Like it's kind of close, but not even comparable. She didn't even entertain it. She wasn't like, yeah, like maybe she could. Like she was like, yeah, she could try for Jessica's spot. Like I'm just like, I don't know, aren't these supposed to be the same thing? Like, I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's just hard to like know what the expectations are and to figure out how you're gonna fit into it.
Yep.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because that's one thing Allison was like, if I come in tighter, I might sacrifice my shape. And then what do I have?
Yeah.
Like my shape is the thing that I have. So they want me to come in tighter, but then other shows, they tell me not to come in as, you know what I mean? And I think she probably got that feedback after coming in leaner, but maybe her shape wasn't as like, you know, X factor as her shape normally is. It's like, that's another thing you have to think about. Like, it sounds good on paper to come in tighter, but maybe for your physique, that's not the look. People have talked about that, like in open bodybuilding with Andrew Jacked. It's like, yeah, but if he comes in tight, I mean, I don't know how much you guys watch open bodybuilding, but like, that's like a big conversation. Like, if he comes in as peeled as people expect him to, he might lose what people love about him.
Yep.
So then where is he left? It's like, you have to find what
The whole reason why
you
I say that Nick Walker lost the Arnold to
Mhm.
Sam because he came in super shredded and conditioned. Like he out conditioned Samson.
Mhm.
He lost that fullness and
Right.
like and so it's kind of like it's a teeter-totter of balance. Like,
Yeah.
but it also goes towards like with us, I'll just go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Like Taylor is a natural competitor. You're a natural competitor. Like that makes a difference. Like what are you willing to lose? Like what a gain or lose by doing PEDs? And not all PEDs are anabolic steroids. Like let's just get
Right.
that Adderall as a PED. So,
Right.
but to what effect? Because it does affect your physique. It makes you more full. It can make you look drier and more cut and help with conditioning. So it's like pros versus cons. Like, what are
Right.
you do? What look are you going for? Like, I'm sorry, I don't know if she is or not. She might be just the most beautiful genetic freak ever, but I don't see a single top 5 figure competitor that's not on anything.
Right.
So, but fitness, I can name you 15, and you want
Right.
to have the figure Olympia physiques. Like not everybody is willing to do that.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely like and actually Michelle Blank mentioned that to me one time, or like early in my career. She was actually saying, and I don't think it's happening. I don't know, it's hard to like see it this close in. Maybe you'd have to zoom out, but like she said, you know, she was like, I feel like the look of this division is going to start changing. And she specifically said, because the number of natural competitors we have who are going to do great routines. And she's like, these girls are going to start ranking high without the physique, without, she didn't insult us all like that, but you're going to start seeing these people rank high without the physique, like, right, that we all expect. And so then she said, that's going to change what this division looks like, because then when you look at the top 5, you don't see the top 5 figure.
Yeah.
Like you what the top 5 figure it looks like. You see like a different, not vastly different, because again, there's plenty of people. The people at the highest level are really good at both. But there will be times where young Jacqueline Baker, young Tiffany Chandler, Taylor, like where people start sneaking into that top 5. And so then you're like, so then the division as a whole looks different, right? Because you know what people do. They don't look at the criteria, they look at the rankings. And they try to look like the people in the rankings. They don't, you know what I mean? And that's how these divisions start changing looks, because people start chasing what certain people look like versus what the criteria looks like.
The prime example. Bikini is a example.
Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, like you said, you just have to figure out like, what are you, what are the pros and cons for you? And for some people, like they know their routine, not saying this is why people use PEDs, but I'm just saying like in general, some people know their routines are never going to be amazing. So they're like, listen, I want to capitalize on my physique. And that's what it is. For me, I don't have the time or patience or desire to learn anything about PEDs. So if I don't know anything about it, I'm not putting it in my body. And I just know I'm too lazy to like try to learn more. So I'm
Yeah,
like, you know what? I don't
that's
want
the
it
better,
because I don't know
that's
what
a
it's
much
going to do.
safer way to do it than other people who just like tell
Like, I'm
someone
like,
else tell
I
me
don't
what to
know
do.
what this is. And honestly, I don't care to know. Like, it's too much extra information and variables for me to think about. So I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a million different reasons.
100% better of a reason than going, I don't care, just give it to me.
I want to, here's my thing is like, I'm hyper aware of everything, but like, I'm at my cap of like what I want to learn about. So I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I don't want to know about it because I don't feel like trying to retain this knowledge. Now, granted, I like trust that my husband wouldn't try to kill me, like as my coach, but I'm also just like, I don't know. If I don't know about it, I don't want to take it, and I don't feel like learning about it. So I'm not going to. But it's like for some people, they're like, they know they know that they don't really need to kill the physique round because they know they're really good at their routine. Or like I said, there's also people that are just like, I just don't want to do it because I don't want to, or the people who are like, I do want to do it because I do want to. It's not a big you know what I mean? So like, it's just like we're I feel like letting, not that this was like the topic of this exact thing, but like, I feel like letting the rankings dictate if you decide to do it or not is not a good idea because you never know. Like, you never know.
That just comes with like understanding, like just informing yourself and knowing the pros and cons. Cause like everything has pros and cons. Like
Right.
get blood pressure medicine has pros and cons. Like what are the side effects? What's going to happen? You know, are you at a greater risk of something else? So like doing your research and understanding what you're doing and how to do it appropriately. Because like, be honest, we can all be honest here. Bodybuilding, when you are on stage, is not healthy.
Right.
Make it healthy as you can, but like it's not, we do it because we are competitive. It's not because we don't have some sort of body dysmorphia. We all do. We've just accepted it, but we love the competitiveness of it. But like when we're on stage, inside out lean, like, and doing copious amounts of cardio and like refeeds and whatever else, it's not healthy. It's goal oriented.
Right. Like it's an extreme sport. I always tell people this is an extreme sport. This is not like the pursuit of health and fitness.
Yeah.
Like, depending upon how far into that you want to go, that's fine. Educate yourself first. And if you are going to educate yourself and that is a route that you want to go down, make sure you are getting your blood work, checking out, you know, having things regulated on a regular basis, know exactly what you're doing and how much you're doing and what could happen in the future, like have open and honest conversations. So,
yeah. Who's okay. I'm sidebarring. Are you competing next year, Anna?
yes, my goal.
You need to talk because I got to get back to the Olympia. So I need to
Babe.
sidestep a lot of people. Listen, I am not too proud. I am not too proud. I want to put this on the internet for everybody. I am not too proud to say that I want to take the path of least resistance. A lot of people are like, I want to compete against the best. I'm like, not me. I want to compete against the best at the Olympia. I want the path of least resistance. So if I can avoid people on stage, I'm going to. Just Andrea is not too proud to say that. Like, I don't need to compete against Sarah until the Olympia. Sorry. Like, if Sarah's going, I'm not going.
I literally, the first time I ever, like the second show I ever did where Sarah was there, I literally walked up and I was like, well, who's getting second?
Yeah, like, and my husband hates when I say that. Ruben hates when I say that. I'm like, dude, there's just certain people I'm not going to beat right now. Like, it's okay for me to say that I'm not going to win the Arnold. Like, he's like, stop saying that. I'm like, oh, you think I'm going to beat Jacqueline Baker? You think I'm going to beat Ariel? No. Like, and that's all. But he like doesn't like the mentality of Like, what's that?
Having an understanding of like your own personal limits, like that's knowing where you are along your path and in your journey.
Yeah.
Like
He doesn't like that. He doesn't like that I put out into the air like that I'm gonna lose. I'm like, right, but getting like it's not a loss. Like third at Chattanooga was not a loss. Like I didn't win, but I certainly didn't lose. You know what I mean? Like I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not a loss. It's just
Yeah.
different. But anyway, all that to say, we're in chat because I need to know everybody's schedules.
So I will say this, so I took all this year off. I opened my own aesthetics business. And I've had some personal things that I've dealt with that like got me off the path of being a bodybuilder, and my priorities shifted. And I'm getting back on the right path. I have good people in my corner that are helping me with that, along the right path. My problem right now is getting in enough food. My stress levels have been like through the roof for, I don't know, four weeks or so. So like looking at food makes me nauseated. And I know that's not where you want to start a prep, is like hardly eating anything, because then you're just going to stall 4 weeks in.
Right.
We're working on trying to get my food intake up, which is getting better. Hopefully maybe around January or 1st of February, my goal would to be to do a 20-week prep-ish and to maybe possibly get into Atlanta and then segue into maybe Tampa. I love Legion. I don't think they've posted the date for it yet. I think Legion is going to be, it's like Legion
25.
Yuga. I think like 3 weeks in a row.
I think Legion's going to be a 25 qualifier.
Yeah, I think so too. But it'll probably end. Hi, Chewy.
I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm just eating cookies these days. At Christmas, I'll decide when I'm going to start dieting.
You had a very long prep. You deserve the cookies.
That's why, I mean, trust me, Andrea, I get, like, that's why I had to take a year off after we competed because like I started prep like the day after Thanksgiving, and then we competed. And I was like, I'm done.
Yeah. I literally just like,
I'm done.
yeah, I don't know. That's what Shelly from the UK, that's why
Yeah.
she didn't compete this year. She's like, I've been competing for over a year. She's like, I have been in prep for 2 years. She's like, I need a second. She's like, after Van, she's like, I didn't even want to compete after Van. She's like, but I like got convinced to go do Chicago. And she was like, but after that, I was like, I'm not going to try to qualify this year. I've been in prep long enough. Like, no, ma'am. So I'm just hitting my protein targets and then pretty much filling up the rest of my calories and cookies. That's what it is right now. I'm just like, as long as you get your protein.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Macros.
Yeah, but this is only a short period, right? Like I have to get it back together because I'm not going to have as much time, but I was like, I need to have a better prep this coming year. And that's only going to happen if I can have like full freedom right now. Like I was like, I don't even want to have like, calorie surplus, but you're still tracking. No,
Yes.
I need complete. Only thing I want to think about is enjoying my food and trying recipes, right? And hitting my protein, which we all like. I mean, I think most of us could probably hit our protein without having to weigh our food, right? Like I can hit my protein.
All of us are to the point where we can throw something down and be like, that's 4.5 ounces.
Exactly. Yep. I'm like, I can eyeball my protein at this point, but it's like, so then that way, when it's time to stop eating so many cookies, I'm ready. These are actually test batch cookies. I'm going to a cookie exchange, everybody.
Oh.
Let me make sure these cookies taste good.
Yep.
They do.
Oh, I wanted to ask, because Andrea, I saw that you had posted that you were taking like handstand classes now or something. Did Taylor getting first affect how you were thinking of approaching your next routine and everything?
Yes and no. So that's like, that was like my whole thing this year was like, you have to prioritize your routine. You have to prioritize your routine. You have to prioritize your routine. Like your physique matters, but if you want to win something, you have to win the routine round. Most people it's nearly impossible to win a show without winning the routine round. Michelle did it at Ben Weeder. I'm going to be talking about that forever until I get my qualification. I'm just going to keep talking about how I lost that show by 1 point. Anyway,
Girl, I
super
lost
happy for her.
one at the Legion that in 22. Like it stings. But
I'm so happy for Michelle. I want to make that very clear, but I also wanted to qualify for the Olympia, so I'm still a little bent out of shape about it. Anyway, it's nearly impossible to win a show without winning the routine round. I looked at every single show this year, besides Ben Weeder, literally besides Ben Weeder. It's the only show this year, oh, and the Olympia, that the routine winner was not the show winner. Obviously the exceptions were Ben Weeder, and that's because I only won the routine by 1 point. And then the Olympia where Taylor got crushed in physique, right? But every other show, the routine winner was the winner. And in case you guys didn't know, the routine winner was not the physique winner. I think Darian is the only one who won both rounds at her show.
she's the only one.
So I already knew, like, that was my mantra this year. Like, hey, Andrea, you got to spend a lot more time on your routine and not necessarily less time on your physique, but that was just a lesson that I learned after the Olympia last year. I was just like so gassed on stage and I wasn't happy with the routine that I did. And I just remember being so preoccupied with my physique that I didn't practice my routine nearly enough. So then the thing that I normally feel really good and excited about, I didn't do well in. I already knew I was going to get smoked in physique. So getting smoked in physique didn't bother me. But getting smoked in routine, I was like, well, that sucks. Like, this is supposed to be the thing that I'm good at, right? So this year, I already knew that's what I wanted to prioritize. I hired Whitney. Like, I was like working on these skills. I practiced my routine a lot more. I went full out a lot earlier. Yes, Reagan. Okay. So that was already my mindset. Now, however, after Taylor competed, literally backstage at Legion, I was like seeing all of these skills, right? Like, I've been following her on Instagram actually for a long time, since before she was a bodybuilder, actually. Seeing that collection of skills in one routine, I was like, holy smokes, I have a lot more work to do. Like, because I don't actually do a lot of skill practice. I like, and this just is just from cheerleading, like, there's only like a small part of the season for me that's skill work, like trying to acquire new skills. But for me, especially at my age where I'm like not going to acquire a lot of skills, not to put myself in a box, but like it just is what it is. There's just certain risks I'm not willing to take. For me, it was like I only improved my actual skills. Like, I didn't really add any new skills to my routine. I just perfected the skills that I had. But then I was like, okay, Andrea, like, you have to learn something new. Because strength skills are never like the holds, like those types of things, handstands, like those are never my strength. But literally backstage, I'm like, okay, I need to do a handstand clinic with you. Like, I have to get good at this, because even if I can just get good at handstands, that will improve so many of these other skills that I've been wanting to do, but I never quite get them well enough to put in my routine. So like, it was something that I already had on my mind, but like I said, seeing her perform in person, I was like, yeah, like, this is something I have to commit to if I actually want to see like large improvements in my skills. So yeah, I've been working on it all the time. Now I do skills practices, like an hour of skills, you guys. I never do an hour straight of skills. I don't like to fail that many times. Like, I tell my clients all the time, like, fail forward. And it is a mindset that I have to a degree. But like, I mean, you guys know when you're trying to learn a new skill, you just have to eat shit for days.
Yes. It is not pretty. It is not what's on Instagram.
Just like, I can't keep doing this. When am I going to learn this skill? Like,
that is literally why, like, on Instagram, my thing now, like, anytime I go to gymnastics or do something, like, I'll post the freaking bloopers. I'm like, I need you to realize this is what this looks like.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my gosh, how long is this going to take? How many reps am I going to have to do of this skill to get 1% better? But I will say, after like now changing to like actually having skills practices where it's like, Andrea, you're going to focus on this skill literally for an hour. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm getting better. It only took me 2 days of practice, which is, hundreds of reps. But
Yeah.
like normally it would take me months to do hundreds of reps of a skill. And
Yeah.
so now that I'm doing that, I'm like, oh, you actually can get better this year. That's good.
It is one of the nice things I think about the fitness division. It's like you have the skills part, and if you just want to put in the reps for it and just keep doing that, you will gain the skill. And at least for me, I feel like I got a lot of my skills a lot faster than my physique has been built. And it's just because I'm more willing to do like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep doing
Right.
handstands for like the next 3 hours until I can finally
Yeah.
do it.
That's what I've had to adopt that, like pretty much between Legion and Chattanooga, all I did was skills. I actually didn't lift once. That was like our approach. We only have 2 weeks. You're not going to build any more muscles, cardio and skills only. And that's what I did. And I was always upside down. Like I was like, I have to get better at these and like get better condition at these. And like, that's just what I've been doing is like, Andrea, you have to focus on your skills. Like, of course, that doesn't mean quit going to the gym, but for me specifically, of course, we've already talked about you have to figure out like where to capitalize on your own strengths and all that stuff, where to prioritize your time. But for me, I'm like, the chances of me building, because that's what I have to do, right? Like I need to get more muscles on my back specifically. The chances of me building the back that will make a difference in how I rank are significantly lower than the chances of me attaining skills that will make a difference in how I rank in the same amount of effort or time, I should say. So it's like if I have 3 hours to dedicate to bodybuilding, I could spend all 3 hours on my back, hypothetically, obviously, right? And the differences are going to be not enough to make a difference in how I do on stage. Whereas if I spend that time on skills, that could absolutely be the difference between me winning an Olympia qualification and me not. So like that's how I've just had to think of it. Like, yes, I want to come back with a better physique, but my physique's not going to get me to the Olympia. Like, so I'm just like skills, 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 skills. And then back day twice a week because this back drive me crazy. It's driving me crazy. I came back with shoulders this year though. That was very exciting. Gosh, after years.
If you do more handstands, you'll definitely get them. Like that's
I know.
because
Well,
I
that's
put
why
a lot of
Taylor's
effort
shoulders
into
look
it.
like that.
Yeah.
Listen, I was like, I'm just gonna bench press and do handstands all the time. Like that little chick bench presses more than I do. She's 30 pounds lighter than I am, and she can bench like 20 pounds more than I can. I'm like, that's why you're so good at those things. I gotta start benching more.
What about you,
That
Anna?
was directly inspired.
One thing that I did inherit from my daddy was his linebacker physique. And so like density and putting on muscles, not an issue. It's maintaining flexibility and mobility with the muscle that I have. So like the only thing that I saw, like I looked at I love my pic, like it's my phone background. Like my Olympia picture is my phone background. That's how proud I am of that look. From the front, gorgeous. From the back, I had no hamstrings and glutes. So like literally all this year, all I focused on is just mainly hamstrings and glutes. Like my shoulders are going to come super easy. My back, it's wide, it's fine. I mean, I can throw on some density on there later, but like she said, like I need to work on my skills. I'm not a handstand person. I wasn't a tumble person. So like I do things a little bit differently. I use my ability to jump because of volleyball to my advantage. So I started taking lessons a couple of months ago. I've stopped recently, but I'm going back to, I was doing lessons with trickers. So like parkour. I wanted to do something different. Everybody loves an entertaining routine that is different, and it's a wow factor for it. It's one of the reasons why when Whitney started coming out and like, just if you actually watch her routine, like one thing she does, she just comes out and like just jumps, but she's like 15 feet in the air. I'm like, why can't I do something like that? So like, because it's exactly my style of what I do. I'm very loud and like, expressive and explosive. So that's what I want to use to my, like, I'm not going to be a Taylor and do the handstands that she does and at the stability that she can. I just don't, I'm not built that way. First of all, I have 8 feet of body to try and hold. Okay. Like if I get an aerial going, it's going to be big as hell because it's nothing but legs. So it's like, I'm going to work to my advantage. I have a lot of body that I have to flip, but I can rotate it really fast horizontally.
I remember Tarek actually compared you to Whitney Jones after you won Chattanooga on the Olympia TV. He said your routines remind him of Whitney. And I agree. Like that's a school. I follow breakdancers on the internet, but I can't do that stuff.
But like small little things. And like, God love my gymnastics coach, Lisa. I've been with her for 3 years. I freaking love her, but I'll like send her videos and I go, I want to do this. And she'll literally send me back like this emoji and be like, okay.
It's like, you're going to get it. Let's try it.
Cause she'll see, I'll be in there doing my routines, doing my practices. And I'll be like, hold on. And she'll be like, stop it.
I see the wheels.
Out. No.
That's funny.
Cause I'll come up with like the craziest, cause that's what I told her. I was like, hey, I want to do a push-up. I want to spin in the air and then land in a push-up. And she literally looked at me and she was like, why? I was
It's so cool though.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love that skill.
Yeah.
It's like one of the coolest things I've seen on stage. It's cool.
Yeah. Like the audience goes wild every time you've done that. Just get a lot of cheers for it.
Well, and that's one thing. That's another thing that I want to prioritize is like something unique.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know specifically what it's going to be or, but I feel like that's a big thing is like doing something because most of us, 90% of our routines are the same skills, right? Like, so what's going to be the thing? That's another reason I think Taylor did so well is because she was doing skills that other people didn't do. Like, that's why aerials, like handstand down, side, like that thing is the shit because nobody does that. Like, that is a skill that is unique to aerials routine. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm like, I just need one unique thing. Like, that's another thing I think, in general, all fitness competitors could do because, again, we are trying to fit most of the same skills in, and you can't invent 90 new skills for your routine. But if you can just do one thing that they're going to be like, oh, that was the thing. Like, that's how they're going to remember you. Like, oh, remember that Anna? Yeah, she did she jumped in the air and spun and landed in a push-up, right? Like, they're going to be like, yes, that's how they're going to remember you. And I know that at least 2 people from the Olympia, their feedback was, we want to see you do something different. We've seen you do that before.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing for me is like, I don't want them to come back to me and say, it was good, but
it's the same stuff.
We've seen you do that and we've seen everybody else do it. Like, do something new.
Yeah. I feel like there are like trends in fitness with skills and stuff. Like a lot of people started doing Oksana's move, the one-arm croc, whatever, or one-arm lever to call it. Yeah, everyone does that now. I feel like this year I saw a lot of people do like handstand with the straddle pull through, like some other things.
That's the only way that I know how to do that skill. The only way that I can.
Well, what's so funny is that like me, do a handstand into anything is to do a double stag down to a crow hold. That's it. I mean, nothing else.
Yeah, handstand skills are so freaking hard. And I was in cheerleading, like I can tumble, but I never had to like hold handstand skills. So I'm like, I can get onto my hands and off real fast.
I can dive on my feet as well.
I'm like, staying upside down is not something that I have in my arsenal yet. Catch me in however many weeks when you see me on stage. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do. So if you see me put like X weeks out on the internet, that's not me being cryptic. That's because I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm not one of those people. I'll let everybody know where I'm competing. I don't care. I just don't know yet.
I know some amateurs who do that. I'm like, but why? Why does it matter? You're an amateur. Who cares?
Like, I just like, I like the accountability of it. Like, I get like the people that are like, they want to have blinders on, and I think that's perfectly fine. But I like people knowing where I should be
Yeah.
because it keeps me in check. Like,
Guys,
these
keep-
people know where you're supposed to be right now. So, like, if I say, for instance, if I put like 20 weeks out on my Instagram story, and then like 6 days later, I'm on my story eating cookies, you're like, don't you remember Andrea? Like, so for me, it's like everybody knows what show you're doing and when you're coming out of the gate. So you better be on point.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I'm gonna do yet. I needed some time to like not think about bodybuilding as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
Or
like
not think about dieting, I should say.
Well, I mean, it's also, I mean, I'm sure you two also have lots of fans, but like, if they want to know what show to watch, you know,
Right.
if you're going to be in an area that they can actually go and watch, like, you got to put it out there. So
Right.
they-
Well, and that's what I'm like. I mean, I'm hoping maybe I can do Adela Garcia. I don't know if I'll be ready to compete that early, but my best friend lives in Austin. So I'm like, hey, if I can like do a show in the city that my best friend lives in, I'm gonna do it. She'd never seen me compete in real life.
Yeah.
But how am I gonna get people to come to my show if I don't tell them where I'm going?
Exactly.
Taylor's trying to get fitness back at Toronto Pro next year. She's like, listen,
Yes.
if I can use my influence for one thing, she's like, if I tell them, hey, if you put fitness back in Toronto Pro, I can guarantee you tickets will be sold.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's a
Yes.
good one. That's what
Oh,
I'm
that's
talking about.
awesome.
Use your influence to put butts in seats.
Yes. That's
application
great. I love to hear that.
it was the same weekend as Adela. So then we got
Mhm.
exposed with it. But like I understand like up there in Canada, you only had like so many like girls in Canada that were going to be able to compete. So it's like
Mhm.
I do them on the same weekend. So you're literally like shooting yourself in the foot because their
What shows?
fitness numbers are down. I was like, well, you have two
Oh,
shows the same
2
weekend,
shows. Yeah.
Mhm.
pulling one end or the
Right.
other. That's why
Yeah.
fitness, they took it out for whatever reason, but then Adela came in and was like, I'm putting it in my show.
Yeah.
So if it's a
Then
different
she
week,
had like
fine. But
10.
like that was the problem last year about like
Yeah.
they took it out of Toronto, but it's because they put it into Adela, which
Yeah.
because it's freaking Adela Garcia. Like
Right. Well, and
Olympia.
Van and Atlanta were the same weekend.
Mhm.
Yep.
You know, I'm like, you got to spread these out. There's 9 shows this year, not including the Arnold. So 7 shows. It's
Oh my
like
God.
you can't share weekends when there's only 7 opportunities and one of them's in Europe.
Yeah. They got to do more in Europe. There are a lot of
They do.
girls in
It's a
Europe
lot
who are
of
really,
European
really good.
competitors.
And I'm like, why don't you put more shows there?
Yeah, I
We
feel like every week Missy's posting one of her amateurs that turns pro. And I'm like, what country are these people in?
Yeah.
I didn't even know. Like, there's so many. I agree. Listen, let's pool our resources and let's promote a show. I already talked
Do
to
it.
Becca. I'm completely serious. I told Becca, I said, I want to promote. I said, I'm looking at my future in this sport. I'm not going to compete forever and I don't want to coach. Talk to me about promoting because I feel like NPC Tennessee does it the best.
Yep.
And I'm like, I want to do that. Not in Tennessee, obviously, but it's like, I feel like I could fill a gap.
Yeah.
You
If you
know,
can get some shows in Cali, that'd be great. Because I know amateur, who is it? Christina, the girl who I competed against in, oh, one of the
oh,
girls I
the
competed against
Arizona
in,
girl.
yeah, she's from California. She has to travel out of state
Mm,
because they don't do any fitness shows there.
are. Oh,
No,
oh, if
like
I'm
at
not
all.
um I don't know if she can, I don't know if she will be, but Tangi Johnson had talked about
no.
put fitness in her show up
In
in
Washington.
Ooh.
she had
Oh,
met,
you.
I think I'm going to try. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Obviously not going to put out the until January 1st because they do the whole meeting with like all of the
Mm-hmm.
get it finalized. Which those meetings about rule changes and how they're going to do things that actually takes place at nationals.
Mm.
do like a whole, like, it's like a whole week long thing. All the promoters, all of like the NPC chairmans and whatnot, and IFBB chairmans, they're at nationals for like the first couple of days, and then they do the actual nationals themselves. But the meetings are beforehand, or at least last time I was told, this could be incorrect now, but the last time I was told that's kind of roughly the process. So then they
Yeah.
get regulations and all the things that are going to change to be implemented for the next year.
Next year. Cool. And hopefully they put out that Arnold list sooner.
Yeah. That was very short
What
notice
was
last
it, like
year.
8 weeks out last year, 6 weeks out, something, it's stupid. Now, I didn't apply. Let me make that clear. I did not apply and don't plan to do the Arnold, but I still want to know. Like, I still want to know. My husband applied. I'm like, I need to know. And people are in prep. Like, I can make these people diet for 10 weeks and then be like, oh yeah,
He didn't make it.
6 weeks out, you're not on the list. Like Darian, Jody, how many people did that last year just in fitness that I know of? But like, there has to be so many people in other divisions that are dieting because they think they're going to compete and then they don't get picked.
Yep.
Kate Arrington, 3 people last year that I know of just in our division.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So hopefully they put out that list like the day after Christmas or something, like, you know, sometime soon. So I want to know. I'm excited about that. Like, I'm excited just to see really all the divisions, to be completely honest. Like, I'm excited to see Ariel. I love when Ariel's on a revenge tour.
Oh yeah.
I love Ariel on a revenge tour. So serious.
Savage. I freaking love her.
Ariel on a revenge tour is like one of my favorite things to witness because I just feel like she dials all the way in, and then you're just like, wow, we're like really sorry that we ranked you any lower than you ranked last time. Like, I don't know, I'm excited. And I know like men's physique, like the Aaron Banks isn't competing and he's won the last 2 years, so it's like kind of wide open. So I'm just like excited to see what happens. But they need to put the list out. So we'll see. I have to pick up my husband from the airport, you guys. So this was a lot of fun, but I do
Yep.
have to go.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
both
having
for
us.
coming on.
Sorry we went way off topic, everybody. But isn't that what podcasts are? You just start talking.
Exactly.
All right. All right. We'll see you soon. Love you
All right,
guys.
have a good Sunday.
All right. Same to you. Bye.
Bye.